Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that can be a real headache in English. Countable versus uncountable nouns.
Right. It's one of those grammar points where things aren't always, well, consistent.
Exactly. We've looked into it. We're trying to figure out, why English seems to work this way sometimes. Like, why is three chairs fine, but three furnitures just sounds wrong?
Yeah, or why you can't just say informations when you mean more than one piece of information. It's a bit strange.
Totally. So that's what we're diving into. We'll look at those basic questions and also some trickier bits.
Like the word hair, for example, is usually uncountable, right? She has long hair.
Yeah, like a whole mass.
But then you find one in your soup and suddenly it's, oh, look, two hairs. You can count
Oh,
them.
yeah, exactly. Or time. I don't have time. Uncountable.
But then I called 3 times. Suddenly it's countable.
And even ordering coffee. 2 coffees. How does that work?
We'll try and unpack that.
Okay, good. So by the end of this, hopefully our listeners will feel a bit more confident navigating this stuff.
Yeah, the goal is to see the patterns, even if there are, well, exceptions,
We'll give you 3 sort of rules of thumb, figure out how to actually count the uncountables when you need to.
and tackle the classic less versus fewer debate.
Yeah, yes, that one. Okay, ready to jump in?
Let's do it. So maybe start with those basic ideas, these 3 principles we found. They don't cover everything, but they're a good start.
Okay, first up, physical versus abstract things. This one feels kind of intuitive, doesn't it?
Mostly, yeah. Countable nouns are often things you can, like, touch or point to individually. Chairs, apples.
You can separate them out. 1 chair, 2 chairs. Even ideas, maybe. You can have distinct ideas.
Right. One idea, another idea. But uncountable nouns, they're often more like a whole thing, a substance or a concept.
Like water. You don't really count water.
Exactly. It's a mass or sand or abstract things like advice. It's just
Yes.
advice, not usually an advice.
Got it. Okay, so that's principle 1. What's number 2?
This one's about natural versus processed things. It gets a bit fuzzy sometimes.
How so? Like with cheese.
Mhm.
Normally we treat cheese as, well, just cheese, right?
Yeah.
Uncountable.
Right. You wouldn't say I need 3 cheeses if you just mean 3 blocks of cheddar.
Okay.
But if you're talking about different kinds of cheese.
Like if you're at a fancy cheese shop.
Exactly. Then you absolutely could say, I bought 3 cheeses today, meaning, say, a Brie, a Gouda, and a Stilton. 3 different types.
So making it into categories or types lets you count it. Is that the idea?
It seems to be, yeah. It's like the processing or categorization makes them feel like individual items we can count. Maybe think about grain versus bread. Grain might be uncountable, but bread often comes in countable loaves or slices.
That makes sense. And coffee fits here too, right? Like I love coffee is uncountable.
Yeah, the general substance.
But ordering, can I get 2 coffees, please? That's fine.
Totally fine. Because in that context, coffees clearly means 2 cups, 2 servings. The container, the cup, kind of makes it countable for that moment.
Okay, interesting. It's how we're using it.
Which leads straight into the 3rd principle. Context is king. Context can just flip a noun from uncountable to countable or vice versa.
We already saw that with coffee and cheese, and time is another big one.
Definitely. I need more time. Time is precious. Uncountable abstract concept.
What's bad?
How many times did you try? Oh, 3 times. Now we're counting specific instances. Same word, different function, based purely on context.
It's pretty flexible, actually. And hair is the same deal.
Yep, her hair is lovely. Uncountable mass.
There's a hair in my food. Countable individual strand.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The object is the same, a strand of hair, but our focus shifts from the collective to the individual, and the grammar follows.
Okay, so those are the 3 main guidelines.
Yeah.
Physical abstract, natural processed, and context. But
Yeah.
English being English.
Oh, yes. There are always exceptions. Some words just seem to resist being counted no matter what.
Let's talk about those usual suspects. Advice comes to mind immediately. You just don't say advices.
Never. It sounds really off. You need that helper phrase. Pieces of advice, like he gave me 3 really good pieces of advice.
Right. And information is another one. Always singular grammatically.
Yep. Lots of information, a bit of information, maybe some items of information, but never informations.
And news. It looks plural, sometimes feels plural, but it's always singular, isn't it? The news is on.
Always singular. It's funny, I think I read its origin was actually plural, meaning new things, but over time it just became a singular, uncountable noun.
Huh. Interesting bit of history there. Okay, what about those group words like furniture, luggage, equipment?
Yes. Those are almost always uncountable too. You buy furniture, not furnitures.
Even if you buy like a sofa and 2 armchairs, that's 3 things.
Still, 3 pieces of furniture. Same for luggage. 2 pieces of luggage, not 2 luggages. And equipment is generally uncountable. Some new equipment, an item of equipment.
It's like the category itself is the main thing, not the individual items inside it.
Seems that way, yeah.
And then there are words that actually change their meaning depending on if they're countable or not. That adds another layer.
It does. These are quite cool, actually. Think about glass.
Okay, like the window is made of glass, that's the material, uncountable.
Right. But then can I have a glass of water? Now, a glass is a countable thing, the drinking cup.
Same word, different grammatical life depending on the meaning.
Exactly. And paper does this too.
Yeah, I need some paper, the material uncountable.
But I have to write a paper for class, or did you read the paper this morning? Meaning a newspaper or an essay that's countable, a paper, 2 papers.
Wow, okay. So you really have to pay attention to the meaning and context.
Definitely. It's not just about the object itself.
Okay, this is helpful. Now, is there like a quick trick or a tip for when you're just not sure?
There is actually a pretty neat little test you can do. Ask yourself, can I just put a number in front of this word, like 1, 2, 3, without adding a container word like bottle or cup?
Okay, so let's try water. Can I say 3 waters? Not really, sounds weird. I'd say 3 bottles of water or 3 glasses of water.
Right. So because you needed the container word, water itself is likely uncountable.
Okay, now, apple. Can I say 3 apples?
Yep. Sounds perfectly normal.
So apple is countable. Huh. That's actually quite a useful shortcut.
It works surprisingly often. Just a quick mental check.
All right, so we know some nouns are just uncountable, but sometimes you do need to talk about a quantity of them. How do we manage that? How do you count the uncountable?
That's where those containers and units come back in. We sort of touched on it, like with coffee.
Right, you say 2 cups of coffee or 3 shots of espresso.
Exactly. Or bread. Generally uncountable, but you can have 2 slices of bread or a loaf of bread.
Right.
The slice or the loaf becomes the countable thing.
So we're kind of borrowing the countability from the unit or the container. Makes
Wins
sense.
nicely. And another way is using types of or talking about varieties.
Like the cheese example earlier. 5 cheeses, meaning 5 different types.
Spot on. Or you might talk about 3 French wines, meaning 3 different varieties of wine. You're counting the categories, not the liquid itself.
Okay, I get it. You shift the focus to the types.
And then there are those specific cases we keep mentioning, like finding 2 hairs, counting individual strands.
Or ordering 3 coffees, counting the cups or servings. Context again.
Always context.
Now, something that always seems to trip people up, myself included sometimes, is fewer versus less. How does this fit in?
It fits perfectly. This distinction relies entirely on whether the noun is countable or uncountable.
Okay, so what's the rule?
Simple rule. Use fewer with countable nouns. Use less with uncountable nouns.
Fewer apples, less water.
Exactly. Fewer chairs, fewer mistakes, fewer opportunities, because you can count chairs, mistakes, opportunities.
And less time, less money. Wait, less money. You can count money.
Ah, good point. You can count specific amounts, like dollars or coins, which are countable. But when we talk about money as a general concept or quantity, like I have less money this month, we treat it as uncountable. Same with less traffic, less stress.
Okay, I see the distinction. Less abstract stuff, fewer individual things.
Pretty much.
But what about those supermarket signs? 10 items or less. Items are countable, right? Shouldn't it be fewer?
Technically, yes. Grammatically speaking, 10 items or fewer is correct. But 10 items or less is so common in everyday usage, especially in that specific context, that most people don't even notice, or they just accept it. It's a case where common usage kind of overrides the strict rule in practice.
Language evolving, I guess. But good to know the technical rule. Is there a tip for remembering this one?
Yeah, another little check you can do. If you're unsure, try substituting not as many or not as much. If not as many sounds right, use fewer.
Like not as many people, so fewer people.
Right. And if not as much sounds right, use less.
Not as much time, so less time. Okay, that helps.
It's a good fallback.
Right. Let's try and put this into practice. Time for a little countable detective challenge for our listeners.
Okay, challenge accepted.
Challenge 1. Spot the mistake. We flagged this earlier. What's wrong with saying informations? And how should you fix it?
Think about those always uncountable words.
Challenge 2. Test the rule. You're ordering water at a restaurant for a few people. What sounds more natural and grammatically sound? Can we get 2 waters, Or can we get 2 bottles of water? And why?
This goes back to counting the uncountable.
And the third one, a bit creative. Invent a hybrid. Think of a word like glass or paper that could maybe switch from uncountable to countable depending on the meaning. We heard one example. Someone mentioned hearing softwares in a meeting.
Oh yeah, that's a classic error. Software is definitely uncountable. You talk about pieces of software or maybe different software programs.
Right. So can you, the listener, think of another word that could potentially work both ways depending on context? Maybe about different types of something you see seen as a mass.
It's a good exercise to make you think about the underlying concepts.
Definitely. And speaking of practical tips, we found a cool listener hack. Someone told us they keep a mental red list.
A red list.
Yeah, of those nouns that are basically always uncountable. Things like advice, furniture, information, luggage, news, the repeat offenders.
Ah, I see. So they consciously try to remember that group to avoid common slip-ups.
Exactly. Just keeping them front of mind so you don't accidentally say furnitures or advices.
That's actually really smart, a proactive way to handle the most common tricky ones.
So wrapping this deep dive up then, we've journeyed through the sometimes confusing landscape of countable and uncountable nouns in English.
And hopefully shown that while it might seem chaotic, there are patterns, there are rules, even if they have exceptions. Understanding these basics, the main rules, the common exceptions, and how, work around the uncountable ones, it really can make your English sound more natural.
And boost your confidence, too, knowing you're getting these details right. So maybe next time you hear less people somewhere, you'll pause and think, technically.
Technically, fewer people might be better. Unless they're talking about people dissolving into a liquid mass, perhaps.
Always a possibility.
You never know.
All right. And just before we go, a little taste of our next deep dive. We're going to be looking at another weird and wonderful part of English, irregular plurals.
Ah, yes. Why one mouse becomes two mice, but one house becomes two houses, not heis.
Exactly. Why does English do that? We'll explore why it loves these odd plurals, and maybe even how to fake it till you make it.
Should be another fun exploration of English quirks.
Looking forward to it. Join us next time.